Top 10 Most Dangerous Nuclear Meltdowns. What is a nuclear meltdown? Not having a dignified definition, a nuclear meltdown refers to the accidental melting of a nuclear reactor resulting in core damage from overheating. These meltdowns are hazardous, and the radiation leaks create havoc in surrounding areas when exposed to the atmosphere. Any form of being when exposed to these radiations suffer radiation poisoning, and ultimately death is inevitable. These accidents are catastrophic. However, some were put under control, causing less damage, especially human lives. Each nuclear meltdown has been rated a level 0 through 7 on the International Nuclear Event Scales, INES. As the title suggests, we're here to talk about the top 10 most dangerous nuclear meltdowns. And without further delay, let's get right at it. Number 10. JASLOVSKE, BOHUNICE, Czechoslovakia, 1977. Level 4. This was the first power plant to be built in Czechoslovakia. The experimental design of the reactor was supposedly meant to function on uranium mined in the country, but being the first power plant, it suffered several accidents and was shut down more than 30 times. An initial accident in 1976 caused 2 workers their lives, but a greater calamity fell upon this power plant on the 22nd of February 1977. During a routine fuel change, control rods were incorrectly removed, causing a radioactive leak. Since the Soviet government tried to conceal the incident, no estimated casualties were reported. However, the power plant has been decommissioned and is expected to be dismantled fully by 2033. Number 9. North Star Bay, Greenland, 1968, Level 4. A U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber running a Chrome Dome mission on the 21st of January 1968 had several hovering bombers above targets in the Soviet Union. Unfortunately, one bomber that was carrying 4 hydrogen bombs caught fire and had to make an emergency landing. Unable to land at the acquired location of Thule Air Base in Greenland, the crew abandoned the bomber and it crash-landed, rupturing the nuclear payload. Out of these 7 crew members, 1 lost his life. The explosion contaminated the surrounding area, and since then, Chrome Dome missions were discontinued. Better and stable explosives were developed to prevent nuclear weapons from future accidents. Number 8. SL-1, Idaho, 1961, Level 4. Forever etched in the history of nuclear meltdowns, this very day, the 3rd of January 1961, in the desert 40 miles outside of Idaho at the Stationary Low Power Reactor Plant, or SL-1, an explosion befell when a reactor was incorrectly withdrawn. 3 workers lost their lives. The damage was minimized only because it's a remote location, and that's why the neighboring population did not suffer any loss or any radiation exposure. Number 7. K-19, North Atlantic Ocean, 1961, Level 5. The Soviet submarine K-19 was in the Atlantic Ocean when it suffered a radioactive leak. Deprived of a coolant, the overheating reactors had to be fixed, and 8 of its crew members decided to do it manually, exposing themselves to the radiation, causing their death within a span of 2 weeks. Unfortunately, the ballistic missile as well as other crew members were contaminated. The submarine that met its distress call, too, became radioactive. It didn't just end there. Within a period of 2 years of repair, it contaminated its surrounding area and the workers as well. Number 6. WINDSCALE, England, 1957, Level 5. Incapable of sustaining the increasing temperature, a reactor caught fire in a plutonium-producing facility where the UK tried to replicate the US nuclear bomb, which used tritium. They used water to extinguish the fire, but this caused a hydrogen explosion and worsened the condition. A significant amount of the gas had been unleashed in the surrounding vicinity, making it noxious. Number 5. GOIANIA, Brazil, 1987, Level 5. A teletherapy containing calcium chloride was left behind when a radiotherapy institute relocated, spotted by 2 scavengers, who later sold it at a junkyard on the 13th of September 1987. The glowing blue material encased in steel and lead canister mesmerized the owner, compelling him to invite family and friends to have a look at this novel blue light, thereby exposing them to the radiation. Out of the 245 exposed to it, 4 people lost their lives. Apparently, this incident created an awareness of the concept of radiation exposure. Number 4. 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania, 1979, Level 5. Failing of a cooling system caused a partial meltdown with 0 fatalities. Regardless of the positive outcome, the accident has given Americans second thoughts on construction of new reactors and using nuclear power, which was a hype during the 1960s. This incident was the major reason for the cancellation of over 50 nuclear plant construction projects in a span of 4 years. Number 3. KYSHTYM, Russia, 1957, Level 6. Wanting to be a tough competitor to the US regarding nuclear powers, the Soviet Union, in an urge to strengthen their nuclear arsenal, built power plants without precautious measures and violating regulations. They used a substandard cooling system at the Mayak plant near KYSHTYM city, which caused the explosion. The Soviet Union tried to keep it under wraps, but failed to do so since the explosion contaminated almost 500 miles of its surrounding, and people living within this radius started mysterious ailments like skin sloughing off. An emergency evacuation of the 10,000 living there brought this incident to the limelight, and a study suggested that at least 200 people died from radiation exposure. Number 2. Fukushima, Japan, 2011, Level 7. One of the largest disasters since Chernobyl. What really happened was the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami resulted in a series of equipment failures, multiple hydrogen explosions, and 3 nuclear meltdowns at Daidi nuclear power plant in Japan. No death at the site, but stress-related death due to the incident was 1,600, mostly being the elderly. Earlier, it was rated a Level 5, but then upgraded to Level 7 when the events of Unit 1, 2, and 3 were combined into a single event. The radiological element determined the rating. The radiation was released into the Pacific Ocean. Number 1. Chernobyl, Ukraine, 1986, Level 7. The worst nuclear meltdown the world has witnessed was the Chernobyl power plant explosion in Ukraine on April 26, 1986. When the reactor exploded, it sent a plume of radioactive dense smoke into the atmosphere. This fallout was 400 times greater than the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Hovering across the Western Soviet Union, parts of Eastern, Western, and Northern Europe were affected. Killing 50 people at the reactor site, people across Europe became victim to this hazardous radioactive plume. A study suggests that over 1 million people may have been exposed to the radiation.